Hey everybody, Mike Toy with Bonsai Boise. This is the first bush to bonsai Ficus Benjamina that I ever did. And today we're going to repot it into a new pot. But first I'll give you a quick look at how it got to this point. So here it is in all its glory. It was just an overgrown bush. I got it on Craigslist for, I want to say it was $40. It was $20 or $40. I can't remember now. It was about 3 years ago. Somebody just didn't have room for it. They were getting rid of it. I thought it would be a fun project and a good challenge to see if I could take something like this and turn it into a bonsai. As you can see, it really didn't have any kind of structure or style points. It was just an overgrown ficus bush in some nasty old soil. I don't think they ever trimmed it. There's dead branches in there, and I mean, it just basically went wild and grew like this. So I chopped it way back, tried to get a better look at it. I can see some potential in there. I'll post the link to this video right here so that you can see the whole thing if you like. That's what it looked like once I got it out of the soil and cleaned it up and trimmed the roots. Potted it up into some bonsai soil. And then about a month later, I decided that long straight branch in the middle was kind of goofy, and I would air layer it out. I sort of agonized about which one to do at the time. There it is. And then about a month after that, I decided to check on the air layer, which, being in the middle of winter, I didn't really expect a whole lot, but I did have it in a grow tent. To my surprise, there were roots. I got a little pot ready, a little training pot, and timber. And I still have that. Still working on it. Not much to brag about yet. One of the reasons I agonized over which branch to air layer is that none of them were really great options. None of them had any particular style going for them, but you could see it was a bunch of cuttings that just fused together, and I didn't want to air layer one off that maybe wasn't all the way fused, or I don't know. I hadn't had this tree very long, so I didn't know it all that well. But there it was after the air layer. It's got its little bandage on there. It was a brave little tree. Didn't cry at all. You can see where they fused together right there. You kind of still see the lines. And there's the air layer, which, like I said, I still have. It's kind of in a goofy state right now, so still working on it. Put them back in the grow tent, and I'll let them go. And then for a few years, I just kind of would let it grow wild like this, and then trim it way back. And let it grow wild and trim it way back. Didn't give a ton of thought into style as I was trimming it. What I was really trying to do was push back the growth to back bud further down. Also, you can see I used some guide wires to bend the branches down. Just trying to give it some kind of style. Because it's these two long pom-pom type branches with no leaves in between. There it is after the trim. Like I said, no style points there, just trimming it back each time, using the standard kind of practice of taking it back to 1 or 2 nodes, etc. But not giving a whole lot of thought into style yet, because I don't know which way I'm going with it. There you can see I wired up a few branches. took one of the guy wires off. I don't want it to look too artificial. Here it is a few months after that, so that in May, it grew out again, so it's still not back budding though on any of those main branches. I'd say there's two main branches, one of which splits into two on the right side there, and neither of them will back bud at all. So I'm pushing back the growth every time, just trying to get it to pop out some growth at, further down the trunk. There we had about 3 thick branches coming out of the same spot or close to it. I'll spare you some of the drudgery of each little trim, but speed through it and just show you kind of how I just trim it way back each time, and there it is. Then about a week or two ago, on the 4th of July, decided to pull it out, take a look at it. I noticed this, kind of odd, little crack right in the trunk there. I don't normally see that with Ficus Benjaminas, so it's neither here nor there, just noting it. But I trimmed it way back again. Still got the pom-pom look. There's the pruning scar. If I'll spin it around, you'll be able to see. There it is. That's where I did the air layer there, on that right side. Then I just put it back on the bench, hoping for back budding, which never comes. There it goes. And then yesterday, I just thought, you know what? If it's not going to back bud, and I got to look at it like this all the time, I may as well put it into a decent pot. It's not exactly show worthy or anything. Probably never will be. It was just my experimental bush to bonsai project. There's that little crack. So naturally I mess with it a lot, poke at it. And it's kind of a little like rotted spot where it looks like the trunk just kind of rotted a little. I wisely decided to stop messing with it. I'm gonna patch that up with some cut paste before it's all done here today. It is unusual. I've never seen a ficus do that in the middle of a trunk like that. Just kind of rot out in a certain spot. It can happen. I mean, obviously it did happen, but just saying, it's not usual. I don't remember ever seeing that, and I have a lot of ficus. So it's been in this pot ever since I first got it and repotted it up about almost 3 years ago. So I'm kind of curious what's going on in there. The soil doesn't look bad or anything. It's still pretty crumbly. Sometimes soil is kind of degenerates into this like mush occasionally, but this one didn't. So I just sort of worked to get all the old soil out. Give it a rough little trim here, and then we'll make some decisions. Any obvious roots that are thick and growing straight down, get rid of those. And there it is after I rinse it all out real well. It's got some goofiness. I kind of like that weird root that's looks like a wishbone going over top of a thicker root. There's some roots growing up, so we'll get rid of those. Typically you don't want roots on top of other roots. But ficus, to me, it's kind of normal. That's how they grow. They do that, they'll sprout out little aerial roots, especially near the base of the trunk, that just sort of overlap and kind of have that look. So I kind of like it, so I left it. Here's another goofy thing to it. Right in the middle, it seems to have rotted out. It looked rotted, so I gave it a little prune. There were no roots coming off of that. And it just sort of came right off. Almost felt like particle board or something. It was very crumbly. So of course I messed with it. And then again, wisely stopped myself. I get rid of any of the rotted parts. And I actually don't hate how it turned out, because now it's just roots on the outside going, spreading outward. So it's not the worst thing in the world. That's from a practical standpoint. When it comes time to potting, it made life a little easier there. Get rid of this one branch that's kind of coming straight out, sort of in the way. This has been the soil mix that I've used a lot lately. It's perlite, pine bark, a little bit of academa, some volcanic rock. People use it a lot for like succulents, and pumice. Look at that slow-mo effect. So cool. Then I just try to kind of pile it up in the middle, and boom, sits perfectly right on top like that. Like a crown or something. Fill it up with soil. Make sure I get all the soil worked into the roots there. That way there's no air pockets or, big clumps of root without soil. It's not too hard in this case because there weren't a ton of roots there to work with, and they were all going out in sort of a radial fashion pretty well, so made it a little easier this time. It's a little wobbly because, of course, this tree is so top heavy. It's a really unusual tree. Typically you don't want long, bare trunks like this. So I'm not bragging that this is the best bonsai tree ever made. There's that little rotted spot in the trunk, so I'm using a little cut paste just to kind of patch it up. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm hoping that at the very least it will stop more moisture from getting in there and rotting out any further. That's my hope. So there's a quick look at it before giving it a water. Giving it a rinse of water. I'm going kind of light on it because I don't want to splash it all over and mess it all up. You can see as the water comes out of the bottom there, how it's kind of dirty. I basically just do this until it starts to run clear from the bottom. That way it rinses out all the dust particles and stuff. And then here it is. Here's how it looks when it's all said and done. So this is my honest opinion, is that it's goofy and awkward, but it doesn't actually look bad. It didn't turn out too terrible. For a tree that refuses to cooperate and is, got the pom-pom look and awkward and long and langy, and for a pot that's not all that special, they sort of complement each other, and it turned out okay. You can see one little back bud there on the left. I noticed it right at the end here. But this is how it turned out. So it's my awkward little bush to bonsai tree. The first one I ever attempted. Didn't go the way I thought, but I don't hate the way it's going. Leave me your comments, ideas, suggestions, perspectives. Would love to hear it. And please like and subscribe. And have a good rest of your day.